Hello. You ready? Okay. I'd like to call this meeting to order at 6:30 p.m. and I'll call on our City Clerk, Nicholas DeBono, to read the land.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, the City of Thorold is situated on treaty land. This land is steeped in the rich history of the First Nations, such as the Hadawandarunk, the Haudenosaunee, and the Anishinaabe, including the Mississaugas of the Credit First Nation. There are many First Nations, Métis, and Inuit people from across Turtle Island that live and work in Niagara today. The City of Thorold stands with all Indigenous people, past and present, in promoting the wise stewardship of the lands on which we live.
Thank you. Are there any declarations of interest? Seeing none, there is a proposed late addition to the agenda, and it is to go into closed session respecting two items, 7 and 11 River Street in Port Robinson and the Kiefer Mansion listing. It will take place after the items for consideration. Can I get a mover and a seconder to adopt the agenda as amended? I got Councillor Sentence and Councillor O'Hare. All those in favor? Opposed? That is carried. There are no delegations, and we'll start into the statutory public meeting under the Planning Act, and the first one up is 1674 Cottameyer Road. I'll call to order the public meeting being held pursuant to the provisions of Section 34 of the Planning Act as amended, respecting a proposal for a zoning bylaw amendment, 1674 Cottameyer Road. I'll call on Stephen Rivers, South Coast Consulting, for the applicant presentation. And Stephen, you'll have up to 10 minutes for your presentation, and welcome to City Council.
Gentlemen, Madam, I hope to do something uncharacteristic of the planner. I hope to be brief, and I actually hope to talk about common sense. If I could see the slide again. My name is Stephen Rivers. I am the principal of South Coast Consulting, 189 Clare Avenue, Port Colborne, Ontario. And if we go back to the first slide, please. Ooh, handsome devil. Proposed zoning bylaw amendment for 1674 Cottameyer Road and 1864 Hurricane Road. Public meeting today, the 9th of, or 23rd of September, 2025. Next slide, please. Again, my name is Stephen Rivers. I'm a member of the Canadian Institute of Planners, registered professional planner. I'm the principal of South Coast Consulting. We're a land use planning and development project management company in Port Colborne. Next slide. In summary, this is zoning bylaw amendment is to change the zoning on the subject properties from agriculture to a site-specific agricultural zone, prohibiting residential uses and agricultural purposes only, and site-specific zoning bylaw amendments creating rural zones to facilitate the severance of existing residential uses from the existing agricultural property, recognizing the setbacks. Next slide. The existing parcel is about 40 hectares. It has 505 meters of frontage on Cottameyer Road and 740 meters of frontage on Hurricane Road. The official plan designations are prime agricultural area in the former Niagara Region official plan and agricultural in the Thorold official plan, and the property is zoned A, agricultural. Next slide. For you is a couple of diagrams showing the subject property. Cottameyer Road would be on the top of the green area on the north, well, would appear to be the north side. Hurricane Road would be on the left-hand side. Primarily, the property is agricultural. It has a couple of existing residences and outbuildings, accessory buildings, and some woodland down in the southeast corner. The sketch shows the proposed severances for the Hurricane Road property on the left-hand side and the Cotmar Road property on the top of the diagram. Next slide, please. The uses surrounding the property, for the most part, are rural residential, agricultural, and some environmentally significant, environmentally protected lands, and the railway land to the south. You see, there's quite a bit of rural residential properties and uses around the subject property on all sides. Next slide, please. The provincial policy statement considerations, as provided for in policy 2341, the proposed law is creation of residences surplus to a farming operation. The new lots are limited to the minimum size needed for the use and appropriate to the sewage and water services. The sewage service has just been checked by the region. We have to make some minor changes to the lot line on the north side of the Hurricane Road property to accommodate the system where it's located. And we may have to make some minor changes as well to deal with setback from other wetland on the property. There's a stream that runs through. The new lots are limited to the minimum size needed, appropriate to the sewage farming operations. New residential dwellings will be prohibited on the agricultural part of the property. As a matter of fact, the potential purchaser is here tonight to show his support for the proposal. And is to ensure the residential dwellings are prohibited on the remnant parcel of farmland created by the severance part 1, and is recommended to be zoned agricultural purposes only. Next slide, please. This is where I'm going to try to get into common sense. That's something planners are known for, but this is it. The provincial policy statement in 2020, when this applications were made in 2024, said that lot creation in prime agricultural areas is discouraged, but may only be permitted for residences surplus to an agricultural operation. Traditionally, and good planning practice, and actually the interpretation of the provincial policy statement 2020 said that definitions that single uses in singular in a planning document are to be interpreted as well as being residential, as being plural. So permission for a resident or lot creation for prime agricultural land except for a residence is actually interpreted as lot creation on prime agricultural land is discouraged except for residences. Next slide, please. In the 2024 provincial policy statement, there was a change to that first part of the policies. It's now section 4331, I believe. And it said lot creation in prime agricultural areas is discouraged and may only be permitted in accordance with provincial guidance for one new residential lot for a farm consolidation. So the common sense in me tells me that prior to the 2024 provincial policy statement, in the 2020 provincial policy statement, it was fairly obvious that plural was to be used, that a residence is also to be interpreted as residences. The reason I would say that is that the province obviously made that change to one for a specific reason. But at the time, I can only interpret that residences were possible if they were surplus to a farming operation. And that interpretation carries through in the provincial policy statement 2024 and is still common practice in land use planning. Next slide, please. Provincial policy statement changes, again, in the land use planning and interpretation of singular and plural, is that singular form is understood to include plural, and vice versa. In Ontario's provincial policy statement, singular and plural terms are generally understood to be interchangeable, certainly within the definitions section. For example, housing or development can be referred to a single home or many. A resource can mean one or several natural resources. The residence is not a term defined. If a term is not defined, excuse me, the normal everyday meaning of the word applies in most contexts. This will mean the word encompasses both the singular and plural form. Next slide, please. The former regional plan considerations, and there are many, the land will still remain, the land use will be predominantly agricultural. The two houses taken off do not compose a large section of the land, and the still almost 40 hectares will be farmed by the purchaser. Objective 1.4D, restricting and controlling non-agricultural uses to minimize conflicts, is satisfied. It's limited to agricultural use, and those existing uses have been there for a long time and have not impacted on their agricultural use. Objective 4.1G is to minimize fragmentation. It's there. The uses are there. They've been since the 70s. The proposal conforms to policy 4.1.1.2, protecting prime agriculture for the long-term use, agriculture by zoning, and the retained parcel for agricultural purposes only. Next slide, please. The minimum distance separation. The new lots are provided for by the guidelines for livestock facility and anaerobic digester odor setbacks from the Ministry of Agriculture and Food. Guideline 9 says that where the existing dwelling to be severed and the nearby livestock facility are located on separate lots prior to the consent, MDS1 setback is not required for the consent application or associated rezoning because the potential odor conflict may already exist between the surrounding livestock facilities and the existing dwelling. Next slide, please. Again, guideline 12 from that document. A reduced setback may be permitted for where 4 or more non-agricultural uses, residential uses in their dwellings are closer to the subject livestock facility, where they are located within the intervening area. They're on separate lots and the same or greater sensitivity. As illustrated in the following slide, these conditions are met. If I could have the next slide, please. And maybe one more. There we go. Here we see the 406 in the strong red line running across the diagram. There's a horse barn illustrated by that blue-purple dot. The first dwelling being severed is within that arc from the Niagara Navigator's mapping system. So they're both on existing lots. They have been there for a long time, hence guideline 9. The second parcel being separated is sort of in the middle of the diagram. On the left side, a couple little gray dots there, and that's where the intervening similar uses from guideline 12 are located. Maybe we could go back to the slide that I got out of order.
You have 1 minute left.
Okay. As required by 4142, the proposed residential lots meet the following guidelines. The size of the new lots is okay. It's adequate water supply. The frontage is on an existing public road. Joint use can be made of the existing road for farm operation access. There is no traffic hazard. These are flat, straight roads. And it will minimize the impact on surrounding agricultural operations. Next 2 slides, please. Rather than take up any more of your time, let's close it off here, and I'd be willing to answer questions.
Okay, Stephen, thank you for your presentation. I'll open the floor to council for questions. Go ahead, Councillor Hanley.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through you to presenter. How many lots are we looking to put here? You mentioned lots, but
In total,
there's no specific number.
In total, 3, sir.
In total, 3?
Two houses being severed, and the third lot is the agricultural property.
And the third lot being the agricultural property, thank you, is the 40 acres
40 hectares,
or 40 hectares,
yes.
right?
Or
So I believe on
thereabouts.
the, so in order to build a home on a farmstead, each home would have to occupy 10 acres or 10 hectares of land in order to build on a farm?
Build a new home on the agricultural parcel?
Yes.
No, sir. I recommend it be rezoned to agricultural purposes only and not permit residential uses.
Until you come back and ask for rezoning in a future date.
That's certainly somebody's prerogative and right to do so. This council would be in position to make a decision on that.
Okay, so I'm satisfied with that. Thank you very much. So 2 and 1.
The
One's
2
gonna
are
be the
existing.
farmland, 2's gonna be the severance for the 2 additional residents to be built.
So, Councillor Hanley, the 2 are already existing.
There, existing, and then they're looking for the 40 acres
Yes.
on the side. Okay, thank you.
Anyone else have any questions for Stephen? Seeing none, Stephen, thank you for the presentation. Registered speakers. At this time, is there anyone online or present in the council chambers who wishes to speak on the applications? Is there anyone here in the chamber or online? Is there anyone online, Justin? There's nobody. I'll repeat that one more time then. Is there anyone here in the council chambers or online who wishes to speak on the application? Okay, there is no one. So I'll move on then to the planning report. DS 19, 2025, proposed zoning bylaw amendment, D 1403, 2024, 1674 Cottameyer Road. Report DS 19, 2025 is presented to council for information purposes. It is currently open for questions or comment from members of City Council. Please note, all comments will be captured by city staff and incorporated into the final report, which will be brought forward to a future council meeting for consideration. Is there anyone out here who has any questions or comments to staff? We need a mover and second. Can I get a mover? I got Councillor Sentence and Councillor DeRose. It's on the screen. Is there anybody that wishes to speak or comment? Seeing none, all those in favor? Opposed? That is carried. This fulfills the requirements of the Planning Act pursuant to Section 34. The public meeting portion of this application is now adjourned at 6:49 p.m. Thank you, everyone, regarding that presentation. And now we're going to move on to public meeting number 2. As you're aware, we have 4 public meetings tonight. So statutory public meeting under the Planning Act, 26 Queen Street North. I'll call to order the public meeting being held pursuant to the provisions of Section 34 of the Planning Act as amended, respecting proposal for zoning bylaw amendment 26 Queen Street North. Applicant presentation. I'll call on Greg Taras and Samantha Beam, Urban and Environmental Management Incorporated, UEM, for the applicant presentation, and remind you that you have up to 10 minutes for the presentation.
Thank you, Your Worship. Greg Terrace with Urban Environmental Management in Niagara Falls, and my colleague Samantha Beam with UEM as well. Samantha's going to make the presentation, and then we're here to answer any questions.
Thank you, Greg. And Samantha, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Good evening, Mr. Mayor and councilors. As Greg Terrace said, my name is Samantha Beam. I'm a planner with Urban Environmental Management. So this is a zoning bylaw amendment for a residential property at 26 Queen Street North. It's for a proposed semi-detached dwelling. Go to the next slide. So the property is 0.06 hectares, or about 630 square meters in size, fronting onto Queen Street North. It has a lot frontage of 20.3 meters and a depth of 31.1 meters. We are proposing to remove the existing single detached dwelling and construct a semi-detached dwelling on the property, which will require a zoning bylaw amendment. City comments were received on August 1st. There were no major concerns. Next slide. And this is just an aerial image of the property. And then next slide. And a view of the existing dwelling from street view. Next slide. Okay, so the planning approvals, it is currently designated urban living area, so no official plan is required. It's actually currently zoned residential 4A, so that's where the zoning bylaw is required. We are proposing to rezone it to a site-specific R4A to permit the semi-detached dwelling and a slight increase in the maximum lot coverage from 45% to 49.5%. Next slide. We wanted to point out that though it's been zoned R4A in both the 1997 and the 2019 zoning bylaws, although there seems to be a slight discrepancy with the lot frontage of the property, it's actually slightly too small to fit most of the permitted uses. In 1997, it was too small to fit the only permitted use, which was an apartment building. It requires a minimum of 30-meter lot frontage. And then today, even for the smallest townhouse units that you could fit three units, you would require 21 meters. And again, this is 20.3. So we just wanted to bring that up to say that we're proposing the semi-detached dwelling, which we feel is more appropriate for the size of the property and consistent with the surrounding uses. The majority of the surrounding properties are zoned R1C and R3, which do permit semi-detached dwellings. And then this will still contribute to some intensification, a slightly higher density on the property to help meet those intensification targets. Slide. And this is just the proposed conceptual plan for the semi-detached dwelling. And then last slide. And then this is just the two, again, to just quickly point it out, the two zoning maps on the left, 1997, and on the right, 2019. The subject property is highlighted in that light blue there. In 1997, it was zoned R4. The surrounding properties in the darker orange were R3, and across the street were R2. And in 2019, now you'll see the majority of the neighborhood is now R1C, which is that lighter blue. A couple properties are that green, which is R3, and then this property is still R4. So again, semi-detached dwelling we feel is more appropriate with the surrounding area as it is at this time. Okay, so we are available to answer any questions if anybody has any.
Thank you very much. So the floor is open for council. Greg and Samantha are here to answer any questions that council may have. Are there any questions? Go ahead, Councillor O'Hare.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through you to Ms. Beam. I've mentioned this before in other council meetings, and when there's a proposal to demolish a home that looks in good stead, I'd really try to encourage you to hook up with businesses that will be able to reclaim some of the provisions that are in the home. So we have Habitat for Humanity, for example, and there's a lot in that home I would assume that they would be very grateful to obtain. So as much as I don't like hearing of a home which looks in good standing would be demolished and carted off, if some of it could be saved for a useful purpose, that would be wonderful. So I hope you'll keep that in mind.
Certainly, through you, Mr. Mayor. I think my last presentation, last time at council, we heard the same, and appreciate that. I did have that discussion with the owner who is here, and he's certainly supportive of being able to take the house down to take as much as available that could be reused.
Thank you. Councillor Hanley, go ahead.
Yeah, just to echo what Councillor O'Hare says, the same thing, and I know that through Habitat for Humanity, they now do have a new division there where they do have contractors that will go in and strip the facility with the occupational zoner. That's a new phase that they're doing. So as Councillor O'Hare says, you know, if we can reuse it, save it if we can.
Very good. Anyone else? Go ahead, Councillor D'Angelo.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I was just looking at the property. There's 2 trees that are just on the other side of the sidewalk. I'm not sure if they're technically on city property, but is that something that they're going to maintain when they redevelop this property, or are they going to cut those down? Because they're very mature trees. So I just, and I have a further question that I'll follow up after. Thank you. Through the mayor.
Through you, Mr. Mayor. Those trees are Norway maples, which are invasive species. The owner had Davy trees come to take a look at them. The picture you see is actually pre the construction that's just been finished on Queen Street. In order to put the new sidewalks in, they had to go around the trees. They've cut all the roots on the sidewalk side of the trees. Davy's trees' opinion is that these trees are very stressed. They're near the end of their age. They're about 60 years old, and generally these types of trees last about 60 to 75 years. It probably would have been better to take those trees down instead of trying to bring the sidewalk around those trees in the recent construction, but I can't speak to the engineering, why it was done that way. There is evidence of the stress that Davies is going to provide a report on these trees, and we can share that with planning staff and council if required. But what we're proposing is to remove the trees and put new trees in their place. They can be put farther away from the sidewalk so the roots aren't interfering with the sidewalk, the new trees as well.
Okay, yeah, that's good to hear that a report will come forward from the Davies tree. And my secondary question is, and I ask this, and I'm going to be asking this to every single developer because I'm getting a little disappointed. Is there any intention to pave the whole front lawn into a parking lot once the house is built?
Through you, Your Worship, no, there will be, we are obligated to have grass, only a certain percentage can be driveway in the front yard, so there will be grassed area in the front yard as well.
Okay, so you're putting that in writing that you will not extend the driveway? Because I see properties throughout our community that the houses get knocked down, they built. Look at the one on St. David's. I asked the same question to them. They said, no, we'll make sure there's grass. It's gravel, and it looks horrific. Mm-hmm. And that's the last thing I want our community to look like, is horrific, because all we do is pave over our front lawns and make parking lots.
Yes.
That has to stop. So I'm glad you're committed not to doing it, and I'm glad you're committing to doing it in writing so it doesn't get done, because I think we need to increase our penalties if that gets done, because it's not being monitored as effectively as it should, and we're just making our neighborhoods into parking lots.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, the owner is here, and he's nodding that yes, absolutely, he will make sure that there's front yard.
I'm glad to hear that, because the owner of the other property was doing the same thing.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else? Seeing no one else, I want to thank Greg and Samantha for your presentation. And now I'm going to move on to registered speakers. At this time, is there anyone online or present in the chamber who wishes to speak on the applications? You can sit down. Do we have anyone online, Justin? Is there anyone in the chamber that wishes to speak to this application? Seeing none, I'm going to repeat that one more time. Is there anyone online or present in the chambers who wishes to speak on the application? And again, Justin, there's no one online, correct? Okay. So I'm going to move on to the planning report, DS 21-2025, proposed zoning bylaw amendment, D1403 2025, 26 Queen Street North. Report DS 21-2025 is only presented to council for information purposes. It is currently open for questions and/or comment from members of council. Please note all comments will be captured by city staff and incorporated into the final report, which will be brought forward to a future council meeting for consideration. Can I get a mover and a seconder for the report? I got Councillor Ditavitas and Councillor Decker. Are there any questions or comments from members of council at this time? Seeing none, all those in favor? Opposed? That is carried. This fulfills the requirements of the Planning Act pursuant to Section 34. The public meeting portion of this application is now adjourned at 7:01 p.m. And now we'll move on to number 3. Statutory public meeting under the Planning Act, 90 Ormond Street South. I'll call to order the public meeting being held pursuant to the provisions of Section 34 of the Planning Act as amended, respecting the proposal for a zoning bylaw amendment, 90 Ormond Street South. And I'll call on the applicant presentation. I'll call on Robert Smith and Aaron Butler of NPG Solutions for the applicant presentation, and remind you that you have up to 10 minutes for your presentation. Welcome to council.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thanks for having us here this evening. My name is Aaron Butler. I'm the managing partner at NPG Solutions. I'm a registered professional planner, and we're here tonight on behalf of our clients, Downtown Thorold Revitalization Corporation. With me is Robert Smith. Robert's an intermediate planner with NPG. Robert's going to be presenting this evening and will be available for questions.
Thank you. Robert, welcome.
Thank you. Can we just jump to the next slide, please? So the subject lands are located at 90 Ormond Street South, with roughly 89 meters of frontage along Ormond Street and a total area of 0.85 hectares. In the 1950s, the site was used by the Shell Oil Company, which had several buildings and fuel storage tanks on the property. These structures were removed after Shell vacated the site, and by 2006, the lands were fully vacated. Due to this historical use, the site has been is classified as brownfield and will require remediation before any new development can take place. Subject lands are categorized as for commercial use in the city's official plan and zoning bylaw. They're located between industrial and commercial uses. To the south, the subject lands are a variety of industrial uses, most notably being iPoly. Immediately to the north is the beer store. There's Club Coppery, which is a banquet facility located northwest of the subject lands. And the lands immediately west of the subject lands are currently vacant, but they have been approved for residential development. To the east are the railway tracks. Beyond that are additional residential uses. Can we go to the next slide, please? So the applicant's proposing a 4-story self-storage facility with retail at grade. This combines the traditional industrial use being self-storage with commercial uses as being retail. It's creating an ideal development for the subject lands, particularly given the mixture of the surrounding industrial and commercial properties. The facility would provide over 10,000 square meters of self-storage space, a use that currently does not exist within this Thorold proper. Contemplating the self-storage, complementing the self-storage use. There's approximately 750 square meters of retail space, which is proposed along the front elevation, consistent with the site's designation and zoning for commercial purposes. The applicant intends for both the self-storage component and retail to feature high-quality architectural materials, as you can see by those elevations, including large glass curtain wall storefronts for the retail portion. This design approach is unique actually to the region, where most self-storage facilities are more kind of the single-level industrial style buildings with very little architectural appeal. Unlike typical facilities, this is purposely designed to act kind of as a transitional element between the existing industrial uses to the south, from the commercial facility to the north. Can you jump to the next slide? So this just shows the proposed site plan that we have. So this plan includes 56 parking spaces to serve both the retail and the self-storage uses. Loading for the self-storage facility is accommodated at the rear of the building, minimizing any impact from the streetscape. We can go to the next slide. So the proposed zoning category is required to permit the self-storage use on the subject lands and to establish a maximum building height of 18 meters is required. We're going from a general commercial, just a C3 zone, to a site-specific general commercial. The self-storage use would only be permitted in conjunction with another use already permitted as of right in the C3 zone. In this case, we're looking likely at retail. Theoretically, it could be a bakery, it could be a clinic. There's other variety of other uses. Moreover, to respect the commercial designation of the land, the self-storage component is not permitted to be located at grade along the front elevation. That area will be reserved for the retail uses. We can jump to the next slide. So several studies were prepared in support of this application. We, NPG, prepared a plan justification report, a site plan, including the building elevations, which were shown on this presentation, were prepared by WPT Architecture Incorporated. A functional servicing and stormwater management report was prepared by Upper Canada Consultants. The report states that a new sanitary sewer will be installed along Ormond Street going northward, and will discharge to an existing sanitary sewer on at the corner of Linden and Carlton Street South. Lastly, there's a phase 1 and 2 environmental site assessments completed by Niagara Soil Solutions. Overall, the purpose of these studies is to ensure that the proposed development is compatible with the surrounding uses. It does not place undue demand on city services. It protects the public health and safety, particularly given the brownfield nature of the property. Soil remediation will be required to clean up the site, which will be facilitated by the developer. This is actually set to be initiated next week. We can jump to the next slide. So just in summary, the application proposes a self-storage facility with the permitted residential use. We really want to focus on this. It's a transitional mixed-use building between all the surrounding uses. The application proposed through mediation, redevelopment of the underutilized brownfield sites. The application proposes development which will make efficient use of the existing municipal services. And lastly, the application supports development that aligns with the Planning Act, is consistent with the provincial planning statement, conforms to the Niagara official plan, and reflects the intent of Thorold's official plan. We can go to the next slide. And we're here for any questions that you may have.
Okay. Thank you, and thank you for the presentation. I'll open the floor up for questions. Go ahead, Councillor Sentence.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through you, thank you for the presentation. I love this idea. Giant tiger rumors have been there for a very long time, but this is a great idea. I just have two questions. If I'm looking at the map right, the entrance is on Ormond?
Yes, correct.
Coming off Ormond, okay, because we have a lot going on that corner in the future, so we're going to have to do our due diligence to make it workable and safe. And when do you see this project potentially being done, if everything goes?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, as Robert stated, remediation is set to occur right away. So the owner intends to get through site plan application as quickly as possible and move along.
Excellent. I really like it. Thank you.
Councillor DeRose.
Yeah, through you, Mr. Mayor, just a comment. This is a welcome situation to our community. That corner's been a eyesore for years, and we'll try to support you in any way we can. This is great. Thank you.
Go ahead, Councillor DeVita.
Through you, Mr. Mayor. This is what we are looking for a city, where a developer comes into our community and cleans up land that is waste, that hasn't been used in 35 years, that's going to dig deep in his pocket and do this and turn it into a safe place for our community. It's a big win. And I'm really glad to see this. But a lot of people in Thorold are coming up to me, and they're very concerned, very concerned. Where's the beer store going?
Mr. Mayor, I assume that's a question. I'll take that.
That
through
is
you.
a
Yes, it is a question.
That
Believe
was
me,
a
it's a question.
I can say that the owner, our client who also owns that property, is having ongoing conversations with the beer store about their lease. It's probably about as much as I can say, but they're having ongoing discussions about the lease, the current lease.
Great.
Continuing.
And as being on the BIA and being in business in downtown Thorold for 40 years, this is great for our downtown. I'm glad this is happening and encourage more development around the downtown. Thank you.
Councillor DeAngelo.
Thank you. Yes, the plan looks really good. The only question through you, Mr. Mayor, I had in regards to the entrance to the property. I know you mentioned that the entrance would be on Ormond Street. Has there been any consideration given to extending Richmond Street, Ormond Street, and connecting to William Street and making it sort of like an intersection as opposed to a bended round corner? Because there is a lot of development going on there, and we're adding additional stop signs. So is there any consideration given to that in terms of how the property can be realigned? Because having a bend, cars will continually be flowing through. So as you're trying to turn onto Ormond Street, or turn onto Ormond Street from your property, or turn off to Ormond Street, there's cars that are still moving quite rapidly there. Hopefully you understood my question there. It's like Richmond Street bends right there, it's Ormond Street, but it bends right there that leads to Richmond Street. I'm thinking if there's been any consideration given to teeing that off, so it's actually an intersection with a stop sign.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, I'll say that as the kind of the private property owner hasn't, had that kind of consideration. I think that's perhaps something the city may
that would be through our
want to look at.
engineering department, I'm sure.
But to speak broadly about traffic at that bend, the advantage of the driveway where it is on Ormond, it's on the outside of the curves. It's on the big part of the curve instead of on the inside. So it does give drivers kind of a better sight line down both directions of Ormond than they would if they were on the opposite side of the street. So the sight lines are pretty good, but that's certainly something in terms of exact driveway location, if there were sightline studies or anything like that that were required, could be dealt with at the site plan stage.
There might be an opportunity on William in behind Hartsel Marine to extend that road in, but that would be something that could be looked at, because that's a dead end right now.
Yeah, no, I know Williams, that's what I was suggesting, is if you can straighten William, connect it to Ormond, and bring Ormond straight through there, now you're making it an intersection as opposed to a rounded corner. Because there's going to be additional stop signs dropped on Ormond, and it's hard to put up short. There's going to be several stop signs there, so traffic flow patterns are not specifically what's there right now. They're going to change going in the future. So having an entrance, if you could just sort of maybe put the map up and sort of walk you through what my thought process is. And I'm looking for consideration. Like I know there's issues with infrastructure in terms of. See how it's it sort of bends right there. if you made, or where it says Richmond Street, and just sort of follow it straight there, and then you got Ormond Street coming down, it's all Ormond Street, but it says Richmond Street there. You're making that an intersection and going onto your property through that intersection, as opposed to now putting it in the middle, and then you'll have the beer store. Like, you're gonna have several entrances onto the Ormond Street property with a stop sign that's gonna be located further up by the beer store, stop sign located where that one building is, where Ormond Street sort of rebounds there. There's gonna be a stop sign there. I'm not sure if you're aware of that. Those 2 additional stop signs are coming. So it's really gonna impede the flow of traffic. So if you straighten that out, again, looking at consideration to do that, I'm not saying to do it, but if that's something that can be done, it might be helpful in terms of traffic flow. Because then you could actually drive straight into your property with a stop sign there, as opposed to having it on Ormond Street. Just a thought. Having driven on that road probably a million times, traffic tends to flow quickly, and it goes around the bend pretty quick too. So just a thought through you,
The
Mr.
other
Mayor.
possibility down the road is, and I think, and again, that rail line is redundant now, and that might be an opportunity, because then you could come in off of Linden as well. But that's something that would be future, I'm sure.
Yeah, I appreciate that, Mr. Mayor. I totally understand the question and the context from the councillor. And if the road system was realigned differently, it's certainly something to consider for sure. I think as is, unless the road configuration were reconfigured, the driveway location that's proposed is the best spot for it. It's not on the curve itself; it's on the straight part.
But that's
but
something you
if it
can
were-
work with our Public
Absolutely.
Works and Engineering group and planning, and get them involved in.
Yep. Thank you.
Okay, any further questions?
No, as long as they're looking at that to see if it's an option, because I know realigning that road would probably make a lot more sense into an intersection than a rounded bend, especially with a lot of residential going there. There will be some blind spots. There'll be a lot of cars coming in and out. To me, that makes more sense to be in a grid pattern. Long ago, when Ormond Street had the bend there was probably one stop sign or one stoplight on Ormond Street. Now we have a lot of them, so it sort of makes more sense. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Hanley, go ahead.
Thank you very much. I'm just to comment on the entranceway. After Shell was there, it was actually more McClary Dry Docks, and it was the place where they brought the bauxite in for the carborundum at the Exelon factory. So where they're proposing for the entrance to be was already an existing entrance for a significant amount of time, up until even after they arched that road. That road became the configuration it is after they built the tunnel, I believe, in 1969. They closed the bridge going over to Welland Canal to the Ontario paper mill. So it's been there for a significant amount of time. There was even a gas station across the street at one time. And so where the proposed entrance was already an entrance for a significant amount of time with heavy industrial traffic for the delivery of bauxite to the Exelon. So I can see, where Henry is coming from, but where the proposals for an entrance was already an existing entrance for 50, 60 years. I'm 60 and I can remember as long, 64, I can, but it's always been there since I was a kid, so.
Since you were in diapers?
Yeah, since I was in diapers, I could tell you the whole area that was there at one time, even who worked the scales.
Anyway, anyone else with any questions? Go ahead, Councillor.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through you to the presenters. I like the building materials that have been chosen. I hope that should this project go forward, that we see a building very similar to what is in our package this evening. I just have a question about your plan drawing on, I believe that's page 4 of your presentation pages. So the building occupies quite a bit of land, and then there is some green space surrounding it. Typically, we'll see some sort of placement of landscaping. And if you look at your plan drawing, there's some corners of the lot that won't be used really for anything. So I'm going to encourage you to come back with some great ideas for some large-scale landscaping there. that would be beneficial for our future. So I'll leave that with you and hope that when I see this again, I may see something that's a little bit more detailed in that area. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Okay, seeing no one else, Robert and Aaron, thank you for your presentation.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Now I'm going to move on to registered what? At this time, is there anyone online or present in the chamber who wishes to speak to the applications? Is there anyone in the chambers? Is there anyone online, Justin? Okay, I'll repeat that one more time. At this time, is there anyone online or present in the chamber who wishes to speak on the application? Okay, I don't see any. So we'll move on to the planning report, 831 DS 24, 2025, proposed zoning bylaw amendment, D1403, 2025, 90 Ormond Street South. Report DS 24, 2025 is only presented to council for information purposes. It is currently open for questions and/or comment from members of City Council. Please note all comments will be captured by city staff and incorporated into the final report, which will be brought forward to a future council meeting for consideration. Can I get a mover and a seconder for the report? I got Councillor Longo and Councillor Sentence. Are there any questions or comments to city staff? Seeing none, all those in favor? Opposed? That is carried. Okay. We'll move on to adjournment. This fulfills the requirements of the Planning Act pursuant to Section 34. The public meeting portion of this application is now adjourned at 7:21 p.m. And we'll move on to statutory public meeting under the Planning Act number 4, Uppers Grove subdivision. I'll call to order the public meeting being held pursuant to the provisions of Section 34 of the Planning Act as amended, respecting proposed modifications to draft plan, approved plan of subdivision, and zoning bylaw, Uppers Grove subdivision. Applicant presentation. I'll call on Emma West, Boastfields Incorporated, for the applicant presentation. And Emma, you'll have 10 minutes for your presentation, and Emma's online. Everybody has got that? Okay, Emma, the floor is yours.
Thank you so much. I'm going to share my screen. Can everyone see that?
Yep.
I'm assuming you can. Okay. So I'm Emma West. I'm a planner and partner at Boastfields. I'm here representing the owners of the Uppers Grove subdivision. This is an application to modify an approved plan of subdivision and zoning bylaw amendment to reflect those changes. I'm going to take you through a little bit on the site context. It's located within the Rolling Meadows secondary plan area. There's 263 meters of frontage on the future extension of Uppers Lane. There's approximately 15 hectares of land here on the site, and the site is currently used for agricultural purposes and is subject to the approved Uppers Grove plan of subdivision and approved zoning bylaw amendment. There is a Trans-Canada pipeline corridor that bisects the site on a diagonal, and the site also abuts a hydro corridor on its west side. Quadrille, the owners of the lands, owns additional land to the north and east of the site, as indicated on this drawing in the black outline. Just briefly, in the regional official plan, the site is identified as a designated greenfield area, which requires a minimum density of 50 residents and jobs per hectare combined. In the Thorold official plan, the site is included in the Rolling Meadows secondary plan, which designates the site as residential as well as environmental protection 2, and there's a greenfield overlay on the site which requires a minimum residential density of 19 units per hectare within each subdivision. So In March 2021, City Council approved the draft plan and rezoning application that you can see here on the screen, with the draft plan on the left and the zoning schedule on the right. This provided for 328 units, and there's also about 1.6 hectares of open space and a public road network with collector and local roads. Since Council approved the rezoning and draft plan in 2021, and since Quadrille purchased the lands in 2022, there's been a lot of work underway, including work to clear the subdivision conditions, with the first detailed design engineering submission submitted in 2023. Comments were received on that submission, and that's the reason why we're here today. Before I go into that, I do just want to note we submitted the application in May of this year and are obviously here to share the proposal for information purposes. So what are the applications about? The applications are to modify the approved draft plan of subdivision to address the comments received from TransCanada Pipeline that were received in response to that detailed design drawing set that was submitted with the interest of clearing subdivision conditions. So that was submitted in 2023. Their comments meant that there were modifications required to revise the roads and lots adjacent to the pipeline corridor. And so we're seeking minor revisions to the draft plan for lotting efficiencies as well, but also to address these comments received from TransCanada Pipeline. The proposed rezoning application that's before you today is required to align the proposed modifications that we are also seeking in the draft plan. So simply put, the proposed rezoning application proposes the same zoning categories as previously approved, as well as the site-specific performance standards that were approved by Council in 2021. So, just to briefly take you through what the proposed changes are, the proposed changes to the subdivision are outlined in red on the plan here. And to address the TransCanada Pipeline comment, the Street B cul-de-sac was removed from within 7 meters of the pipeline corridor, and the intersection at Street A and Street E was removed from the pipeline easement right-of-way and a driveway located to the north of the easement. Other proposed revisions to address lotting efficiencies you can see outlined in red include the relotting at the intersection of Street C and D to accommodate building setback requirements, and a reduced Street E right-of-way width to the 18 meters to be consistent with the other local roads in the plan. A brief comparison of the statistics shows that there will actually be 4 fewer units in the proposed modifications, and actually a bit of an increase in the parkland. You can see the approved plan of subdivision on the left and the modified plan on the right, just to give you the comparison. And then with respect to the zoning, the proposed red line changes to the subdivision require minor changes to the current site-specific zoning that was approved by Council in 2021 to align with the subdivision plan. The proposed rezoning application provides the same zoning categories, as I said, and uses the site-specific performance standards that were applied through that 2021 approval. So in conclusion, City Council approved the rezoning and draft plan in 2021, and the intent of these applications is maintained. The intent of those approvals is maintained in these applications before you today. There are minor revisions to the approved draft plan that are required to relocate infrastructure, the roads, curbs, driveways outside of a setback from the TransCanada Pipeline corridor. And this is all based on the comments that TransCanada Pipeline provided through the review of the detailed engineering drawings to address the requirements that we understand they've updated since the approved plan in 2021. And the proposed development will facilitate the orderly development of the lands, including the extension of existing infrastructure from the west. In our opinion, the proposed revisions are consistent with the provincial planning statement and conform to the Niagara Region official plan policies and the Thorold official plan. So that's all I have. Thank you very much. I'd be happy to answer questions.
Thank you, Emma, and I'm going to open the floor of council. Are there any questions from council? I don't see any. Emma, thank you so much for your presentation. Registered speakers. At this time, is there anyone online or present in the chamber who wishes to speak on the application? Justin? I'll ask one more time. Is there anyone online or present in the council chamber who wishes to speak to the application? There is no one. Okay. Planning report. DS 25-2025. Proposed modifications to draft approved plan of subdivision. D1201 2019 and zoning bylaw D1404 2025 for Uppers Grove subdivision. Report DS 25-2025 is only presented to council for information purposes. It is currently open for questions and or comment from members of City Council. Please note all comments will be captured by City staff and incorporated into the final report, which will be brought forward to a future council meeting for consideration. Can I get a mover and a seconder for this? I've got Councillor O'Hare and Councillor Didavides. Is there any comments or questions to staff? Go ahead, Councillor Didavides.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. To the planning staff, great job. 4 things you brought in today. Development, it's so great. And everybody listening at home, we're open for business. We got an amazing planning department. It was an uphill battle, but I'm very, very happy. I know all of council is, not just myself. Walter, Brian, Mark, Sean, you got a great team there, and you guys did a great job. And I look forward to coming in more often for these type of things. So I want to congratulate you.
So we'll get them coming back on a regular basis.
The more time they come, the more money we're making.
Okay, are there any other questions or comments? Okay, seeing none. I got a mover and a seconder, correct? Okay, all those in favor? Opposed? That is carried. This fulfills the requirements of the Planning Act pursuant to Section 34. The public meeting portion of the application is now adjourned at 7:32 p.m. 4 meetings we did in an hour. Outstanding group here.
I would be for doing this more often and, getting together like this, because I tell you, I just said to Kenny, if this was a regular Tuesday night council meeting, it would have taken us 2 or 3 hours to get through this.
Exactly. Yeah. And that's why we, when you have this much, you have to do it like that. Okay.
That's why it's called special meeting.
Items for consideration. We have 2 items. 10.1 DS 26-2025. Which will be Bill 85, 2025, 95 Queen Street South zoning bylaw amendment, D1402, 2025. Can I get a mover and a seconder for this one, please? I got Councillor Decker and Councillor O'Hare. It's on the screen right here. And are there questions or comments for staff? Seeing none, all those in favor? Opposed? That is carried. DS 27-2025, Bill 86, 2025, removal of the holding on Confederation Heights Phase 10. Can I get a mover and a seconder for this, please? Councillor Sentence and Councillor O'Hare. Are there, it's on the board there. Is there any questions or comments? Seeing none, all those in favor? Opposed? That is carried. And again, I want to thank planning staff for all the work you do, and we really appreciate the direction we're heading in, so thank you so much. Closed session. Just a reminder that earlier in the meeting, council approved an amended agenda that added the closed session. Before I ask for a mover and a seconder to go in closed session, I will remind you of your obligations respecting closed session. Those who are participating in the closed session must ensure that no other person is in the location from which they are taking part in a meeting or make appropriate arrangements so that any other persons cannot see or hear any of the confidential deliberations taking place. If this is not possible, you must withdraw from the meeting until it has reconvened in open session. Council staff and everyone present during closed session have an obligation to ensure that what is discussed in closed session is kept confidential. Can I get a mover and a seconder to move into closed session? Councillor Decker and Councillor Sentence. Go ahead, Councillor DeAngelo.
Just a question on closed session, because I know it talks about update respecting 7 and 11 River Street. Is it going to be specifically to an offer on the property, or is this going to be a general discussion? Because I have some open, some questions that should be answered in open session.
I will ask our clerk. I'll ask our clerk for that.
Through you, Mr. Mayor. So if your questions are relating to a, as it's noted here, proposed or pending acquisition or disposition of land, or a position plan procedure criteria to be applied to any negotiations, that would be, if you feel it's best to be enclosed for items related to that. So,
Well, my question is more that the process, because council asked for options regarding this property. So will we be discussing options or just a specific offer that's?
Just what?
so I through you, Mr. Mayor, I believe options would fall into a matter respecting a position plan procedure criteria or instruction.
Okay, well.
Okay.
I'm going to be very uncomfortable going into closed session discussing this, because I have quite a bit of questions that need to be discussed in open session. That's why when the options report that we talked about would have came forward, we could have discussed those. You know, I'm concerned about the cenotaph that's on the property, how that's going to be handled, how the realtor was selected. Those are questions I don't think should be closed session questions. I think the general public should understand what's going on with that stuff. I brought up at the discussion when we moved that report that we'd have some input from the public, how's the public going to be involved in this process? Like, those are all the types of questions I have that need to be answered outside. So if we start discussing those in closed session, I will walk out of closed session and I'll leave council.
So obviously, that's not what we're discussing, correct?
No.
If council wishes, so when we return from closed session, because there will also be another item, in the business arising from closed,
Then
you can certainly touch on some of the questions you feel are best for open session, Councillor.
Okay, well, I just want to guarantee we won't be discussing those in closed session. That's not fair to the public. Thank you.
Okay, go ahead, Councillor Hanley.
Thank you. I think the intent was actually, I'll say it, I was the councillor that brought this forward in regards to an item that was brought forward in August. And I think tonight, the in-camera discussion with regards to the listing itself and nothing outside of that.
My understanding, it's an update, is that?
Yeah, an update in regards to the listing itself and what transpired in regards to the motion.
That's what the clerk has said.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. Okay. We had a mover and a seconder. All those in favor? Opposed? That is carried. Okay, we'll take a minute, get things organized here.